50 relatives went silent within about 4 seconds, which is a long time to watch someone's face change in real time. My sister-in-law had been the loudest person in that house all afternoon, and for the rest of the night, she didn't say a single word. 15 minutes earlier, she'd handed me a mop in front of everyone. I want you to understand that by the time the television screen lit up, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just very, very calm, which is somehow so much worse for the person on the other end of it. Before we get into how we got to that living room, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications because you'll want to see how this one ends. Tell me in the comments, have you ever gone completely calm right when everyone expected you to fall apart? Welcome to Revenge Stories Narrated, where family betrayal meets inevitable justice and karma always collects its debt. My name is Priya. I'm 36, a physical therapist, married 5 years to a man named Anders whose family has always run warm on the surface and cold underneath, the kind of warmth that photographs well. His younger sister, Wren, decided sometime around our second year of marriage that my body was a subject open for public commentary, specifically the part of it that hadn't managed to carry a pregnancy to term twice, and the part of it that had spent 3 years and 2 rounds of IVF trying anyway. The first round of IVF cost us $38,000, most of it not covered by insurance, money we'd been saving for a down payment before we redirected it. I remember the specific number because I did the math obsessively for months afterward, the way you do when a loss needs somewhere concrete to live instead of just living in your chest. The second round failed at 10 weeks. I went back to work 4 days later because we couldn't afford for me not to, and I cried in my car in the clinic parking lot most mornings that month before walking in to help other people rebuild their bodies, which is its own specific kind of exhausting nobody warns you about. Wren found out about the miscarriages the way she found out about most things, by asking pointed questions at family dinners until someone cracked. She started with small comments, asking, in front of Anders' mother, whether we'd considered that maybe it just wasn't meant to be. Then bigger ones. At a Christmas dinner 18 months ago, she told a table of 12 relatives that she'd always assumed some women just weren't built for motherhood, looking directly at me while she said it, smiling the whole time like it was an observation instead of a blade. Anders told me, afterward, that she didn't mean it the way it sounded, that she'd always had a blunt sense of humor, that I shouldn't let her get to me. He said some version of that sentence after nearly every incident for 2 years, and each time, I believed a little less of it, and trusted him a little less to actually stand between me and his sister when it mattered. That erosion cost us something real in our marriage that had nothing to do with fertility at all, a specific distance that crept into how carefully I chose what to tell him afterward, because I'd learned his first instinct was to smooth things over rather than to defend me. 6 weeks before the baby shower, I was reviewing footage from our home security camera, a bored Tuesday night task after noticing a package had gone missing from our porch. Wren and Anders had stopped by 2 weeks earlier while I was at a late clinic shift, and the system had recorded her sitting in our kitchen on a call with a friend, her voice clear through the living room speaker. She was talking about her pregnancy, laughing about how relieved she was that her fiancé, Soren, had no idea the timeline didn't quite add up, and that the baby was actually Callum's, Anders' closest friend since college, from a night the previous spring she swore her friend would never repeat to anyone. I sat in my kitchen at 11 at night and watched my sister-in-law confess, in my own house, to a lie large enough to end 2 relationships. I didn't confront her. I watched the clip 4 times, then saved it in 3 separate places, because I understood immediately what it would cost me if I lost it, and what it might cost her if I used it. I felt something very specific settle in my chest that night. Not rage exactly, more like the particular stillness of finally having proof for something you'd suspected about a person's character for years without being able to name it. I didn't sleep much. I lay next to Anders, who had no idea what I'd just watched, and thought about every dinner where he'd told me to let his sister's comments go, and felt the shape of a decision forming that I wasn't ready to speak yet. If you've ever found real proof of exactly who someone was, after years of being told you were imagining it, hit like right now. I'd love to know in the comments if you've ever had to sit on something like that before you were ready to use it. I didn't tell Anders. Partly because I didn't trust him yet to hold something this large without softening it into another conversation where Wren got the benefit of the doubt, and partly because I wanted, selfishly and honestly, to be the one who decided when and how this came out. after 2 years of not being allowed to decide anything about how she treated me. The baby shower was already scheduled, a large one, 50 guests at Anders' parents' house, the kind of event Wren had been planning for months with the specific joy of someone building a stage for herself. I offered to help set up decorations that morning, arriving 2 hours early, which surprised no one because I'd always been the reliable one in the family, the one who showed up early and left the mess tidier than she found it. While hanging streamers near the entertainment center, I found the television's Bluetooth settings, paired my phone quietly, tested a 30-second silent video to confirm the connection worked, then disconnected it again so it wouldn't show as an active device to anyone glancing at the screen. I didn't know exactly when I'd use it. I only knew I wanted the option ready, the way you check that a door is unlocked before you decide whether you're actually going to walk through it. The shower ran for 3 hours before Wren handed me the mop. I'd been standing near the kitchen, out of the way, when a punch bowl spilled near the dessert table, and instead of grabbing a towel herself, she crossed the room, put a mop in my hands in front of at least 20 relatives, and said I should make myself useful since I can't be a real mother anyway, with the specific brightness of someone who'd been waiting for an excuse to say it out loud in front of a crowd for a long time. The room laughed, not everyone, but enough. Anders was 15 feet away, heard it clearly, and said nothing, which told me, in that exact second, everything I needed to know about whether I was going to let this moment pass the way I'd let the others pass. I set the mop against the wall. I walked to the entertainment center, reconnected my phone to the Bluetooth speaker, and waited until Anders' mother stood up mid-toast to say a few words about the baby on the way. I let her finish her sentence. Then I played the clip. Wren's voice filled that living room in the same clean audio the security system had captured weeks earlier, laughing about Soren having no idea, naming Callum plainly, describing the night in enough detail that no one in that room, including Soren, sitting 3 feet from her with a paper plate of cake still in his hand, could mistake what they were hearing. 50 people went quiet within about 4 seconds. I picked the mop back up, walked it over, set it down in front of her, and said, "Make yourself useful and clean up your mess," and then I got my coat and left. Soren left the shower within the hour and didn't speak to Wren again outside of what a lawyer eventually required. Callum, it turned out, hadn't known either, and stopped speaking to Anders' side of the family almost entirely out of what I can only describe as genuine shame. Wren's relationship with most of that family cooled fast and hasn't fully thawed since, showing up early and leaving the mess tidier than you found it. It turns out, buys you a kind of credibility that lying to 50 people in one afternoon does not. Anders didn't speak to me for most of the drive home that night, not out of anger at me, but because he was sitting with 2 years of moments he'd smoothed over instead of standing in, all at once. He apologized properly a few days later, the kind of apology that names specific instances instead of asking to move past them quickly, and it's held so far. We started the adoption process 4 months ago. I don't know yet how our story ends there. I know how it ended in that living room, and some days that's the version I let myself feel proud of first. If you've ever been mocked for something you had no real control over, by someone who turned out to be hiding something far worse, tell me about it in the comments. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one, and I'll see you in the next.